Trouble in the Balize. San Fernando East Rebellion rattles PNM. A WZYE-TV analysis. Internal dissent, a disputed by-election, and an alleged conflict of interest are testing the limits of party discipline ahead of constituency elections. The People's National Movement is facing a quiet but pointed internal revolt, and it is coming from one of its own. San Fernando East MP Brian Manning has taken the rare step of writing formally to the PNM's General Council, raising what his letter describes as critical concerns about governance, constitutional compliance, and electoral integrity within his own constituency executive. The move, made through General Secretary Foster Cummings last Thursday, has sent ripples through the party's internal machinery at a moment when the PNM can least afford division. Constituency elections are scheduled to begin from July 1st. The letter does not mince words. It calls on the political leader, the General Secretary, and the General Council to thoroughly investigate what it terms operational irregularities and take corrective action before the vote, not after. Manning did not respond to calls or text messages seeking comment. The conflict at the center. The most politically sensitive allegation in Manning's letter concerns a single individual, Patricia Alexis, who serves simultaneously as chairman of the San Fernando East Constituency Executive and as an assistant general secretary on the PNM's national executive. Alexis has chaired the constituency for more than a decade and was part of political leader Penelope Beckles' 1 PNM slate during the party's 2025 internal elections. The letter acknowledges that this dual role may be technically permissible under the party's existing framework, but it argues that permissibility is not the same as propriety. Members increasingly feel this arrangement compromises the necessary impartiality, transparency, and objective advocacy required when local constituency grievances are escalated to the national level, the letter stated. The perceived deficit in independent representation has led to a noticeable decline in institutional confidence. In plain terms, members say they cannot raise concerns with the national leadership about their local executive when the person chairing their local executive is part of the national leadership. Alexis did not respond to requests for comment. A by-election under a cloud. The Manning letter also flags what constituency members describe as a procedurally flawed by-election held recently to fill a vacancy on the executive. Members allege the vacancy was not announced with the 7 days notice required under the PNM Constitution before an election can be held. They further allege that the individual elected or appointed to fill the vacancy was a non-attending constituency group representative and an employee of a senior executive official. The combination of both factors, the letter argues, raised immediate questions about favoritism and process integrity. This deviation from established constitutional procedures has severely fractured internal trust, the letter stated. Taken together, the perceived conflict of interest at the top and the disputed by-election at the ground level have produced something damaging in any political organization: the sense among ordinary members that the rules only apply selectively. The stakes: July elections. Manning's letter was not simply a complaint, it was a preemptive intervention. With constituency elections weeks away, a significant cross-section of San Fernando East members has stated formally that they have a profound lack of confidence in the current executive's capacity to fairly, neutrally, and transparently administer those elections, particularly where incumbent officers intend to stand for re-election. To address this, the letter recommended a series of oversight measures: an independent audit and verification of all registered active party groups in the constituency, the immediate regularization of groups that meet constitutional requirements, and, crucially, independent oversight or external administration from the national level to manage the July elections. That last recommendation is the most consequential. It effectively asks the PNM's national leadership to step in and take control of a constituency election away from the very executive that currently runs it. The national leadership goes quiet. Despite the seriousness of the allegations, the response from the top has been notable for its silence. When the General Council convened, members were informed the letter existed, but it was not read aloud and was not formally tabled because it had not been submitted in the required format. Sources indicated that correspondence of this nature should have been addressed to the General Secretary rather than the Council directly. Whether that was a procedural oversight or a tactical choice remains unclear. Political leader Penelope Beckles did not respond to WhatsApp messages seeking her position on the letter or whether any of its recommendations would be adopted. Cummings similarly did not respond. One PNM executive official, speaking without attribution, offered the party line. The PNM will handle its business internally and the leadership will appropriately manage matters as required. Internally, assurances were said to have been given that the matter would be discussed. When and how remain open questions. Why it matters. The PNM lost the 2025 general election. It is now in the uncomfortable business of rebuilding, and internal elections at the constituency level are supposed to be part of that renewal. When those same internal elections become the subject of integrity concerns before a single vote is cast, the problem compounds itself. The BALISIER, Trinidad's unofficial symbol of the PNM, is a resilient plant. But even resilient things can be weakened from the roots. If the national leadership allows the Manning letter to be quietly shelved rather than genuinely addressed, it risks validating every concern the letter raised and sending a clear message to the party's grassroots about whose interests are actually being protected. The members of San Fernando East are watching. So one suspect is the rest of the PNM. WZYE TV. Caribbean News. No filter. No fear.